to, and then I'll okay, just let me know when.
I will.
Okay, got it. Okay,
All right. I believe we are live.
okay. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. The investment committee meeting. It's what time is it? 4:35.
4:37.
And we'll start off with the roll call vote.
Angela Banks, Christina Bennett,
Present.
Yeah, okay.
Louis Cross,
Present.
Sheila Goodwin,
Present.
Shanice Johnson.
Present.
Yes, Sheila, thank you.
Present.
Donna Jones, Yvette Levy, Martell Mann, he will not be present. Bobby Richardson, Albert Sanders,
Present.
and Doris Walker. She say here.
She did not.
Doris, you're on mute, Doris.
Present.
Thank you. All right, so we do have 6, so we do have enough to get started. And I think, Jeff or Weld, I don't know if you have anything you want to say before we kind of do anything unrelated to the business at hand, anything else for the investment committee before we get started?
I think Jeff and I decided that we would give the bulk of the time this evening to the custody interviews. And if we have a little time at the end, we'll just give an update on the performance. Jeff, I think we're still there with that.
Yeah, I think that makes most sense, just given the time. And I think we don't have anything mission critical regarding the funds that need to be dealt with today. So it would just be mainly informative. And I think if everybody's seen the reports, they hopefully know where we're at and things are moving along in a good direction. So.
All right. So we have a couple of motions. We do have 2 upcoming meetings for these trust custodian interviews. So we can close the meeting for next week at this meeting. So that's what the first motion is for. And then after we do that, then the second motion would be to close tonight's.
I make a motion to close the August 24th meeting of Personnel and Professional Contract Committee, and that all records and votes to the extent permitted by law during the closed portion of the meeting be closed pursuant to Missouri Revised Standard 610-021, subsections 1 and 12, for the purpose of having a confidential and privileged discussion on legal or contract matters.
Second.
All right, I'll do a roll call. Christina Bennett.
Yes.
Louis Cross. And Louis, you're on mute.
Yes.
Sheila Goodwin,
Yes.
Denise Johnson,
Yes.
Albert Sanders,
Yes.
Doris Walker.
Yes.
All right, so we do have 6. The motion carries. want to just move on to the next motion then.
I make a motion to
I make a
close.
motion to close the meeting of the investment committee and that all records and votes to the extent permitted by law during the closed portion of the meeting be closed pursuant to section 610.021, subsections 1 and 12 of the Missouri Revised Statutes for the purpose of having a confidential or privileged discussion on legal or contract matters. Second.
All right, roll call again. Christina Bennett,
yes,
Louis Cross,
Yes,
Sheila Goodwin,
Yes.
Shanice Johnson,
Yes.
Albert Sanders,
Yes.
Doris Walker.
Yes.
All right, so again, we have 6, motion carries. Please. Sure. All right, we are live. All right, and you wanted the monthly, Waldo?
Just a flash report. Just gonna make a couple comments on that and let Jeff, open up to Jeff has got any additional. Turn to the first page.
And you're talking July, right?
Yeah, July, yes. July flash. The only thing I'll say here is if you look in that month column over there, you'll see everything is positive this month with the exception of the broad fixed income, Barclays Ag, which is basically, flat, negative 0.07. But fortunately, everything is it's doing well. The Russell 2000 actually was the best performing domestic segment. And then you got EM rebounded at 6.23. And if you look on that year to date column, you'll see there the strongest area, the big style divergence. You'll see Russell 1000 growth representing large cap growth stocks at 33.4 versus the Russell 1000 value at 8.82%. Turning over to page 2, as Jeff mentioned, we talked about the exponents overweight. If you look at that, you see the only place on there where you're really out of whack is in the total global equity. And once we remove those funds from exponents, everybody should be back within range of the targets are within the range from minimum to maximum. And private debt, once we get capital calls on the investment that has been approved, that will move that closer to the target. If you'll turn to the next page, Sue, you will see that the fund itself actually just was right just below the policy index, not significantly so, but basically in line, 2.10 versus 2.17. Edgar Lomax had experienced a bit of a dip in the quarter, and you'll see here it's actually rebounded in this month. Although value wasn't as strong as growth, it's outperformed the Russell 1000 value at 3.8 versus 3.2. Where growth had been having some problems before with TCW, you see TCW actually rebounded this month at 3.56 versus 3.37. So it's brought up some of the numbers that we had some concerns about before. If you turn over to the next page, you'll see that where we are seeing the most weakness this particular month, and actually on a year-to-date basis is some of the small cap, which is not surprising based upon some of the numbers we saw earlier. Westville, Systematic, and DFA all underperformed for the month of July. And if you look at the year-to-date numbers, Systematic and DFA are actually, Systematic and DFA are actually fiscal year-to-date. Systematic is the one manager that has outperformed its benchmark. The others two are slightly below, but they're all double-digit numbers, which is good. Internationally, you can see here Fidelity did better this time than Causeway for the month of July. But if you look at our fiscal year to date, Causeway has done extremely well, delivering 24.3% versus 14.25% for its benchmark. If you go down to emerging markets, as I mentioned, emerging markets actually rebounded. And in the emerging market space, DFA did better than the Invesco portfolio, but both of them delivering double-digit returns and exceeding their benchmarks on a fiscal year-to-date or 6-month basis. Fiscal year-to-date basis, I'm sorry. Next page is Exponence. That's your global manager, and collectively, Exponence managers outperform the MSCI World with a return of 3.94 versus 3.36. And if you drill down below that, if you look below that, the only manager in that group that was underperforming is Martin. The rest of them are either above or in line with their respective benchmarks. And the next page is fixed income. As you can see here on fixed income, the total fixed income not as strong, but if you look down, drill down further, as you know, the fixed income segment has experienced some difficulties with interest rates rising, et cetera, and the returns have been either slightly positive or somewhat negative. If you look at the Manulife, you can see here it has delivered returns, albeit small, above the Bloomberg aggregate at a positive 0.21 versus a negative, slightly negative number for the benchmark. And Ernest Partners is right in line with the Bloomberg US aggregate. If you look at it on a fiscal year-to-date basis, they have both outperformed the Barclays aggregate, the Bloomberg aggregate on a fiscal year-to-date basis. Opportunistic fixed, your best performer here has actually been the Loomis Sale Strategic Alpha, not only on a monthly basis, but also fiscal year-to-date. The Neuberger Berman opportunistic, slightly falling behind, but on a fiscal year-to-date, still ahead of its respective benchmark. EMD debt having bit difficulty for the month as well as on a fiscal year-to-date basis, and the Exponence opportunistic fixed income having a difficult month of July, which has brought down their fiscal year-to-date. But if you look at them since inception, since you've had them since 2015, albeit somewhat volatile, it has still delivered returns in excess of the Bloomberg US Aggregate Index. Going over to the next page is your global TAA. You got PIMCO here, who has actually delivered a slightly, pretty much in line, but slightly above their benchmark for the month of July. And if you look down at the hedge fund space, I don't know if these are all up to date or not, but it looks like White Box is basically just slightly positive, almost flat, and Grosvenor slightly below its hedge fund composite index, 0.92. Fiscal year to date, though, White Box has delivered as well as Grosvenor. And so the segment itself is delivered in excess of the hedge fund of funds composite index on a fiscal year to date basis. And of course, there's no real estate. The real estate is not reporting on a monthly basis. So all in all, the total fund pretty much in line with the policy index for the month of July. And those are my comments with respect to the flash report. Jeff, do you want to add anything before we wrap the meeting up? Is he still on?
Yeah, he's on mute though.
Sorry, I was fumbling trying to find my mute button, but
Hey, Jeff,
no,
don't let
oh, sorry,
Miss Christina, don't
ahead,
let
Christina.
me say, don't let me call you Bueller.
Oh, Lord.
I deserve that. I deserve that. But yeah, Bueller has nothing to add. So that was a great summary. But yeah, it's been up and down, and it's these type of wild markets and things coming from the Fed that sort of throws some active managers for a loop. And I know Lomax is sort of the one that's been off the most, and it's probably been most impactful for the year on the relative performance, but they're lumpy. And so they will have good markets where they can outperform by quite a bit. So all that's going to come back in line. And I think everything from a long-term basis on the returns, very, still very much in line with where we want to be, and matching up nicely with the return assumption for the plan. So.
Okay.
That's all we have, unless there's some questions or requests from the committee.
I was just wondering, Glenda, are you tired?
A little bit. Coffee. I had some coffee. I took a nap, but I had some coffee before.
She's an hour ahead of us.
Yeah, it's about 8 o'clock here.
Well, I would imagine after a couple of hours of custody interviews, where everybody's probably pretty tired.
Yep.
Well, I just want to say thank you for everyone and the overview, and I appreciate everyone staying on.
Like I echo that. Thank you all, because it's tedious, but it's something that has to get done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we warned up front that this is dry stuff, and but it is important. So, and yeah, definitely appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Go put that motion up, Sue.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone.
All
Bye.
right.
Take care. Everybody have a good weekend as well.
Y'all when I come from Milwaukee.
We'll see you soon.
No.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.